Thank you, Lindsay. Thank you for joining us today. I'm District 1 Inspector Claire Smart. Operation Eastside began in December 2021 to address the exponential growth of violence against vulnerable Calgarians along Dermot Baldwin Way. Since Wednesday, December 1st, 2021, more than 27 violent encounters have occurred, including assault with weapons and sexual assaults, often leaving victims seriously injured and fearing for their safety. Since early December, proactive police patrols have increased, along with outreach by several social serving agencies to connect truly vulnerable individuals in the area to the resources readily available to them. Despite these efforts, the violence continued, and as a result, a number of individuals have been arrested and temporary structures have been removed from Dermot Baldwin Way. Our investigation has shown that a criminal element has become entrenched along Dermot Baldwin Way. This group has hindered access to the Calgary Drop-In Centre by creating a gauntlet of violence and drug trafficking. The temporary structures have been used to store drugs and a significant number of deadly weapons, including machetes, swords, knives, sledgehammers, and firearms, all of which have been used against vulnerable members of the public simply trying to access the Calgary Drop-In Centre. We believe this group uses violence to control drug trafficking in the area for what has become very valuable territory for the traffickers. Violence will not be tolerated in our city, full stop. Our goal with this enforcement and collaborative intervention initiative is to create a safe space for people to access the services they need. During Operation Eastside, our investigators took the unique step to request judicial authorization on 4 separate search warrants to access and search individual tents on Dermot Baldwin Way. These search warrants were sought after serious attacks causing injuries occurred on individuals who were trying to access services. In addition to several assaults with weapons, a minor was repeatedly sexually assaulted in one of those tents. As a result of the searches, a total of 28 weapons were seized, along with 20 grams of fentanyl and 20 grams of methamphetamine. To date, 12 suspects have been arrested, totaling 71 criminal charges, in addition to 84 outstanding warrants, and more charges are expected to follow. The investigation has revealed that the offenders often return to Dermot Baldwin Way to the area once they're released from the custody and resume their activity. Despite ongoing enforcement and outreach engagement, this group of individuals has continued to put others at risk. In collaboration with our partners at the City of Calgary, the Calgary Drop-In Centre, and the Calgary Homeless Foundation, the determination was made to remove the structures along Dermot Baldwin Way. The expectation is that from now on, this area will remain free and clear of obstructions, both by way of physical structures and violent or intimidating behavior. As the structures were removed today, partner agencies were on site to ensure personal belongings were allowed to be removed safely and that all individuals living in the structures were connected to social supports. I will now turn it over to Calgary Drop-In Centre Executive Director, Sandra Clarkson, to speak more about the supports that have been provided.
Thank you, Inspector Smart, and thank you for an overview of all the work that's been taking place to make Dermot Baldwin Way safe for those that require our services, for our staff, for other service providers who are coming into the building to provide services, and for the community in general. Safety for all is paramount. At the Calgary Drop-In Centre and all emergency shelters across Calgary, we're here to help people experiencing homelessness get connected to permanent solutions and permanent housing options. We envision a community where everyone can find their home. And our goal is to transition people into that long-term housing. And there are a number of pathways to make that happen. And together with our partners in community outreach, other emergency shelter providers and housing providers, our goal is to provide people with safe, and dignified services. We are meeting people where they are at and supporting people in the housing options that they choose. So far, since January of this year, we've already been able to rehouse 2 individuals directly from Dermot Baldwin Way. And so we continue to work with 16 others that had been staying out there currently on housing plans, and have our housing resource hub open, available to provide those wraparound supports, whatever they may be, to ensure that individuals who may have been out there have access to the supports that they need to provide permanent solutions to their housing. You know, we recognize that issues of personal belongings are a consideration. We have a plan in place for that. We've also working with other community partners to ensure transportation is available if people choose to go to other shelters or other options throughout the city. And through this collaborative effort, we are confident that everyone who wishes to access housing and supports will receive those today and every day. And I want to thank the Calgary Police Service and the City of Calgary and the Government of Alberta for their support in addressing this complex and unsafe situation. Also would like to thank all of our outreach partners, social support and emergency shelter partners, the Calgary Homeless Foundation, for their assistance and ongoing commitment to serving Calgarians experiencing homelessness. With that, I'll turn it over to Chief Plakaitis. Thank you.
Apologies, Chief. If you can just start your remarks again. We just had a audio technicality. Sorry, Chief. One moment, please. Chief, it looks like you might have to unmute yourself on your end. It's not allowing us to do it on ours. Looks good. Better? Go ahead. It is. Go ahead.
Okay. So first of all, good morning, everyone. My name is Ryan Plakaitis, and I'm the Chief Bylaw Officer for the City of Calgary. And today I'm going to provide an overview of the work we are doing to support the removal of encampments along Dermot Baldwin Way. First, I'd like to reinforce why today's efforts are so critical. As you've heard from our police service, the conditions in and around the drop-in center are clearly unsafe. They're unsafe for drop-in center staff, they're unsafe for city staff, and most importantly, these conditions are unsafe for our most vulnerable population in the area. In speaking with our peace officer team that supports our rough sleeping community, they've encountered individuals who have said that they will not come downtown to the drop-in center to seek services out of fear for their own safety. I think we all can agree that this is unacceptable for this to happen. The drop-in center is a lifeline to those sleeping rough, and they can provide an off-ramp for individuals to seek assistance and to find housing. It is critical that these services remain available to those who need it. As you've heard from the drop-in center, our collective goal is to have all individuals moved into a safer environment. And as always, we work together to put people first. To support the work done by the drop-in center outreach teams, the city has offered some additional supports to make sure we're removing barriers to accessing services. This includes additional storage for these individuals' personal belongings, in addition to the storage offered by the drop-in center. For any individual who's a pet owner, we also have our pet safekeeping program where we will take care of their pets so someone can enter the shelter without worry for their animal. Our hope is always that individuals take the offer of indoor shelter. However, we know that the reasons people don't go into shelters sometimes are complicated and personal. And as a last resort for those who do not wish to enter the shelters, we will give them an opportunity to pack up their belongings and move to a different, more safe outdoor location. For the encampments and structures themselves, we're in the process of disassembling these now. Along with the Calgary Police Service, the Calgary Fire Department is on hand to safely remove items of concern like needles, hazardous materials, chemicals, heating hazards, so city crews can remove all remaining debris and remove it safely. As the structures are removed, we've been working with outreach teams and those living in the structures to ensure that their personal belongings are retrieved safely. Going forward, it is critical that we maintain a safe zone in this area. The area outside the drop-in must remain clear to ensure that people who need critical supports feel safe and welcome to access them. Our peace officers will be monitoring this area and working with all of our partner agencies to support anyone who attempts to set up an encampment, but by finding them safe and suitable living accommodations. We cannot allow them to stay along Dermot Baldwin Way, but we can help them find a safe place to go. As always, our teams are meeting with individuals sleeping rough and offering support and safer indoor options. They are a group of caring and compassionate professionals who have the well-being of the rough sleeping community at heart. Thank you, and we're happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Chief. Our first question goes to Bill Kaufman. Bill, please go ahead.
Yes, hi. I'm just wondering, how are we, or can we believe that the people who are arrested in this case will not return back to the street and resume their activities, maybe in a different locale? Is there any reason to believe that this won't happen?
Inspector Smart, do you want to take that one?
I can take that. So we will definitely be monitoring the activity of individuals that are released after they have been arrested on Dermot Baldwin Way. Our investigative team is looking at the offender management of these individuals. We're also working very closely with our Crown Prosecutor's Office to make sure that one, that they're not able to return to the location, and but also if they have been arrested multiple times, that they will be able to either remain in jail or at least have the conditions on them that we will be able to follow through and work with them if they choose to continue to maybe come back to Dermot Baldwin Way or continue to drug traffic or carrying weapons. But we just want to make sure, I can't say for sure that they're going to not be back into the locations, but we are doing our best to monitor, and that is with our investigative team currently.
Bill, do you have a follow-up?
Sure. What proportion of these of the people who were at this tent camp would you say are like innocent homeless?
I would say I don't know if I should pass that over, sorry, to Sandra Clarkson.
Sure. Thanks, Bill. I think, our outreach team has been doing a lot of work out there to build relationship and get to know who's who out there. I know our latest data indicate about 22 of those individuals have in fact been using our shelter facilities overnight and being outside there in the day. And in terms of the numbers of people that are accessing our housing hub today, I understand it's been very busy and has been received very well. So we can look forward to some further hard numbers on that as the day goes on.
Bill, does that answer your question? Are you good?
Yes, thank you.
Great, thank you. Jill Croteau is our next question.
Good morning. Yes, I'm Jill. I'm from Global News. This question is for either Inspector Smart or Sandra. It's a follow-up to Bill's question. So I'm curious how this situation unfolded. Like, are these folks, these vulnerable folks who were sort of caught up in this encampment, were they there against their will? Were they being held hostage, I guess, for lack of a better word, or were they recruited? Like, I'm just trying to understand the dynamics of what was happening in there.
Inspector Smart, do you want to take that one first?
Sure, I will take that. So thank you, Jill. I have to say that a lot of individuals that were either on Dermot Baldwin Way or living in the encampments, there's many that were trying to access the resources of the Calgary Drop-In Center. And as I mentioned in my speaking notes, that they were walking a gauntlet. There was a lot of fear and intimidation trying to, as they're making their way to seek treatment, food, shelter, talk about housing. and a lot of times they were met with resistance by individuals that would refuse to let them enter the drop-in center, walk on Dermot Baldwin Way, and many times that was the fear for many. And that's why we're seeing when we are discussing or when we are downtown speaking with others, talking to them about housing and getting the help, they were very fearful of coming to the drop-in center for the fear of having to walk that gauntlet. And that is why we are here today, and that is why we want to make this a safe access road for everyone in the community to access.
And can I just follow up with that? I know our outreach team certainly encountered on a number of occasions individuals who were not allowed to engage and had been told, our outreach team was told very pointedly that they cannot speak to some of these people. So anecdotally, I would say that there was certainly pressures for people not to engage with the team so that they could find a way out.
Jill, do you have a follow-up?
I do, just briefly. I mean, how did it morph to this? Like, how did it get so massive, like that they were, amassing all of these weapons and sexually assaulting people within these tents? How did it get to this point?
Thank you, Jill. I would say that it became territorial. And that these individuals ended up setting up their tents, whether they are actually living in it or using it as a place to deal their drugs, house their weapons. It ended up going all across Dermot Baldwin Way. And as police, we were constantly being called. And this is when we started to see, we tried to implement working with other resources and trying to see if we were able to curb the violence. And eventually we just found that this is something that we have to do as a collaborative approach. We are not able to just police our way out of this one instance, and that is why we needed to work with all agencies in this and bringing this issue to everybody's attention, and that is the violence along Dermot Baldwin Way. And that is why we are here now, and understanding that we can no longer let this continue. Again, it needs to be a safe access for everyone.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Jill, our next question goes to Kevin Nimick.
Hi there, this is Kevin Nimick from CTV Calgary. Question for Inspector Smart. You detailed in your statement a criminal element entrenched in the area. Is there a specific crime group or gang or community that you found in this area?
Thank you for that question. I'm actually not going to name any crime group or activity or crime group, I should say. I won't do that, but I will say that when there is drug trafficking, you know that there is organized crime involved. And I can say that there are numerous individuals that are very violent along Dermot Baldwin Way, and were very entrenched in drug trafficking, and that's where it became very territorial along that roadway.
Okay, and a follow-up. Yeah, just a follow-up question. So is the allegation here or the charges here, you spoke to drug trafficking. Is the concern then that members of these crime groups were using the facade of homeless tents to as a venue for drug trafficking? Is that what we're getting at here?
I'd like to say that, yes, that many of the drug activity, drug deals have been occurring in and around those tents outside of or along Dermot Baldwin Way. And with that comes, and as you will see, numerous weapons that have been located. And if you look from the 4 search warrants that we executed, all those tents had weapons and numerous weapons within them.
Kevin, do you have any other questions?
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. I do have one more, if you don't mind.
Sure.
I guess I'm wondering for that area, we know that there are some people experiencing homelessness who aren't comfortable using the shelters for a variety of reasons. If someone were to come back, let's say in the summer, I understand you're not allowing people to relocate there, but if someone were to come back in the summer with a tent in that area by themselves, would they be immediately relocated, or would they be allowed to shelter in that area?
I can answer that. What we would like to do is completely keep that area clear of all tents and an access way for everyone to use safely. And whether it's walking right through Dermot Baldwin Way or utilizing the accesses or the services of the Calgary Drop-In Center.
And can I add to that just a little bit? I think that's where the efforts of our housing focused outreach team will come into play in collaboration with CPS and bylaw to be aware of when people may be setting up tents, that we can be proactive and go out and reach out to them and to determine what their housing needs are and work with getting them housed directly from their current situation. We would, of course, encourage them to come inside to access services, but respecting people's ability and right to choose, we would work with them where they're at to resolve their issue of homelessness.
Great, thank you for the question. The next one is over to Colleen Underwood.
Hi, I just had a couple of just sort of information type questions. Like, how many encampments were there in total? Do you know?
That we've seen anything from 15 up to over 30 encampments at a time. It fluctuates. Oh. It does fluctuate.
Okay. And how many people were sleeping there? Do you know, like about, because you mentioned the 22 were being helped. Do you know how many in total might have been there?
I'll take that one. I think, again, that fluctuates daily. As I mentioned earlier, we know that 16 of those people were actually using our shelter services overnight. 22, 16 are currently working on a housing plan. And so I think it was a very dynamic and fluid situation there and changing daily, if not hourly. So it is hard to provide a definitive number on that. I think we'll have a good handle on the number of people seeking services after our housing resource hub that's, as I mentioned, is very, very busy today.
Right. And another sort of just quick question is, when did this happen? When were the encampments taken down? Was it this morning or it's still happening?
That was this morning. The operation started, but I will mention that even though a lot of work was carried out this morning, we realize that the work isn't finished, and we have to be vigilant, and we have to continue to work with our partners to make sure that we're supporting our rough sleeping community and trying to find more suitable living accommodations for those folks.
Okay. Now I just want to ask, so maybe this is for Sandra. So what was it like for staff, I guess, before, and, probably how are they feeling now, but sort of what was it like having to manage that, walk through that?
Well, thank you for that question. I think, the safety of the staff and those that we serve is of the utmost importance to myself and leadership at the Calgary Drop-In Center. And I do know that the feelings of being unsafe have been rising as a result. Our parking compound is on the other side of Dermot Baldwin Way, so staff would need to walk through the encampments in order to access the building. I know that staff had experienced incidents of threats. So I think is becoming a very concerning situation that needed to be addressed. And I'm hopeful that with all of the actions taken today, that those feelings of safety will continue to increase instead of going down.
And also I wanted to ask if police could maybe comment on maybe just so we understand like how severe these assaults were. Like, was it a matter of somebody just got roughed up, or how serious, yeah, were they?
Some of these incidents have actually been life-altering for individuals. I can tell you that what we have seen, and I have been an officer for over 25 years, have been disturbing. It is not something that we want to see. No one in our vulnerable population should have to go through what they have been put through with the intimidation and the violence and the attacks on these people. It's just not, it's not right. And it's very difficult for not only my officers, but as Sandra spoke about her staff and bylaw, when we go in there, it's become very volatile and unsafe for everyone, even for fire going in there. So the thing is we will not let this happen. The violence cannot continue. We need to make sure that our vulnerable population feels safe. We have to, and I said that again in my notes, full stop, it can't happen. And I'm looking forward to seeing what tomorrow brings and what it's going to look like. And yes, we are going to monitor how everything unfolds and what that looks like. But I am hoping that there are many people that are saying that they won't access the drop-in center can now start to come back and feel safe.
Thanks, that's all I had.
Thanks, Colleen. Over to Mark Villani.
Hi there. It's a question for police. I'm just wondering why mattresses, garments of clothing, blankets, and entire tents were being thrown out this morning. Are those not considered personal belongings? Do these items get replaced for those that are sleeping rough or not choosing to stay in a shelter tonight?
So I can answer that, and maybe I'll turn it over to Chief Plakaitis after, but I think I might be able to answer this. When we go in there and today and speaking with individuals, we discuss as to what they want to keep and what they need removed. A lot of times, I know the drop-in center has some storage area for them. I believe bylaw also has some storage that they can access along with pets. But many times when we are in there, we are discussing what would you like to take. They're packing up their own belongings. I'm going to be honest. Sometimes they've asked for our help, whether we can help fold tents or whatever that looks like. So I can't speak to the mattresses. Sometimes they do say, "I don't want that. That's garbage." We have been there for when we've gone for some of the debris removal, and many of the individuals down there have said, "Nope, that can go into the garbage. I don't need that anymore." So I might turn it over to Chief Plakaitis, but that's we do have the conversations with the individuals.
Thanks. There's not much more to add than what Inspector Smart laid out. Our peace officers have rapport and develop relationships with the individuals that are staying in that area. We work with them to clean the site. The goal ultimately is to get them inside the shelter, inside of housing. And, we're not forcibly removing anything. We're trying to, again, create a relationship and understand what they need to take with them if they have agreed to move it into the shelter or into transitional housing. And then, we're in a much better place to remove some of the excess materials in the area.
Mark, do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, just another question. Are there any photos available of those people that have been charged? And can you confirm or deny any connection here to the family crime group?
Mark, I can say we don't release photos of people that are charged. Under FOIP, we're not able to do so. And I'll leave it with Inspector Smart to answer the second question.
And in regards to your question, I cannot confirm or deny any relation to the family.
Is that just because it's an ongoing investigation, or?
Correct. There is an ongoing this investigation is ongoing, and there are many matters that are before the courts. So unfortunately, I'm not able to speak to any of it.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks, Mark. Our last question is going to Leisha Corbella. Go ahead, Leisha. Leisha, we haven't been able to hear you.
Sorry about that.
There we go.
Inspector, just wondering if you could give us a little bit more detail about the kinds of assaults that have happened down there, what kinds of weapons were used in those assaults, what happened to the people who were assaulted, and yeah, just if you could give us a bit more detail about what happened, what has been happening down there.
I can do that, Leisha. So many of the victims have ended up in hospital due to, again, life-altering conditions or just having to be stabilized. Many of the weapons, I would say, a lot of times are machetes. We have seen firearms. I would say golf clubs, sledgehammers, many knives. So it's a variety of weapons down there, and are used by numerous people on many occasions.
Okay, and so I guess so there's a lot of people down there at the site who are saying that the family runs that block, and that they're not likely to give up that territory very easily. So what kind of police resources are going to be necessary to make sure that that doesn't continue? Like, are you going to have to station someone there 24/7? What kind of, and also, if you don't mind, maybe talking a little bit about just how many officers have been involved in what's happened today as well.
So today I can say that, are you talking for for today's, the event today?
The event today, but then also ongoing, what kind of resources we'll need?
So I'm very fortunate in my district to have the downtown Beats and Bikes team. So a lot of times I am utilizing their resources to conduct ongoing patrols in and around the drop-in center area, understanding that we do have an entire downtown to patrol, but many times we are being called into this one area. So we are going to continue and monitor with our patrol beats and bikes. I do have also, District 1 has a East Village resource team, which is made up currently right now one officer, but is working very closely with many of the agencies down there, including the drop-in center, their outreach team, working with the Calgary ambassadors, and bylaw. This isn't just the Calgary Police. We definitely need everyone to work with us so we can continue to keep this a safe roadway in front of the Calgary Drop-In Center. And again, it's not just the Calgary Police that's going to be able to, we can't do this on our own. And I think everybody has come together and we all realize that this is a team effort and a collaborative approach. And I know that as we move forward, there is going to be, we're going to be having a lot of discussions, seeing what unfolds and how we're able to make sure that we do not see encampments go up along that roadway.
Leisha has a question for Sandra. Go ahead, Leisha.
Yeah, hi, Sandra. Can you just talk about your staff and has anything happened to them? Have your staff ever been assaulted?
Thank you for the question, Alicia, pardon me. I think, we have experienced, heightened levels of disorder, whether it be on Dermot Baldwin Way or in the vicinity over the last couple of months. We've experienced a lot of, vandalism to staff cars, et cetera, and some stolen items. I'm thankful to say that there were no serious assaults that have taken place, but I do believe it would likely only have been a matter of time if we did not come together and take this action today.
Okay, thank you.
And I believe that's the end of our questions for today. So with that, we'll close today's press conference, and thank you all for joining.